Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Paige, an aspiring ultra runner and an overall health and fitness enthusiast. And lately I have been learning a lot about physical health and wellness. And today I wanted to talk about a little something in that space that I've learned so far. And that big thing is how to make permanent and lasting changes to your life, which we've all been there. It's hard to do. And I personally feel uniquely qualified to talk about this topic since over the past year and a half, I completely overhauled my lifestyle and that changed my health, fitness, and eating habits. So, I've made changes and I haven't fallen back into my old ways. So, I think I'm qualified to talk about this. So I went from sedentary and eating really unhealthy foods all the time to eating pretty well. I'm not perfect, but pretty healthy, and getting more than enough exercise. And actually, I think I do over-exercise a little, but I'm training for an ultramarathon, so it kind of comes with the territory. But I digress. So from my studies and what I've personally done myself, change can be so difficult. It is so easy to get that burst of motivation, like, I want to lose weight or I want to start eating healthy and all this other stuff. You get that burst of motivation that makes you want to make major changes and completely overhaul your life overnight. A perfect example of this is wanting to be healthier and more active. So you are really motivated to work out and exercise. So you get a gym membership. You start going to the gym every day and you feel great at first. And then slowly, after a few weeks of this, your motivation to go to the gym wavers. You start going less and less and less until you stop altogether. Those big, I'm going to just completely overhaul my life changes almost never last, which is a shame because, you want them to. I've done this plenty of times. I've done years and years of, I'm going to make a change, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to eat all this, and I'm going to exercise all this, and then a few weeks in, I am done, and I go back to what I was doing before. So, it is possible to do this, where you completely overhaul your life, you change everything all at once, and you maintain it. This is possible. I'm just saying it's a lot more difficult to do than what I'm going to suggest in this video. It takes a ton more willpower and a ton more energy to maintain these changes. Which, willpower, we only have so much to spend, so if you're spending all your willpower every single day, you are going to have a bad time. So, you want to change your life and your health, or pick up any healthy habit. This is great. And even if you've been in that cycle of motivational overhaul and then reverting back to your old habits, you can still make a change. It's never too late. And what I did and what I've learned helps make these life changes permanent is to create what I've been learning is called a positive feedback loop. This is basically where you make small positive changes and maintain them over time, and they feel good, so you keep doing them, but it's not like a big obligation to do so. And then those changes cause you to make some more small changes and some more small changes, and the positivity of small successes feeds back into the more small successes, and before you know it, your whole life has changed. So you want to create a positive feedback loop where you create the motivation to keep going because of the small wins. And this positive cycle of small positive changes that cause you to get more small positive changes, and so on and so forth, is called an upward spiral. And it may sound a lot like a downward spiral. In a lot of ways, it's the same. A downward spiral is basically where negativity feeds into negativity and you fall farther and farther down. Upward spiral is where you're positive, you're confident, and it builds up and builds up and builds up. And instead of going down and getting worse, you're going up and getting better. So you want to build you want to build that positive feedback loop. and that upward spiral. Positive habits will create positive health and mental outcomes, which causes you to want to make more of these positive changes because you want more of the positive outcomes. And these upward spirals are really good because it's continuous improvement. Even if the steps are very small at first, one step forward is better than not moving at all. Seemingly insignificant but small positive improvements is the way to go. So, the positive feedback loop and upward spiral, all well and good, but how do you start that? If you're used to change, you're used to going from major changes to falling back, major changes, falling back. So, knowing how to start is obvious once you know it, but it's not obvious if you don't know what you're looking for. And that is small, maintainable changes. Start off with something tiny and relatively painless, something that it's not going to hurt if you do. For example, if you want to work out and be more active, instead of getting a gym membership and working out like crazy, trying to be more active right away, start with a 15 to 30 minute walk around your neighborhood once or twice a week, or walk around a park once or twice a week. A short walk. This small change is great. A small walk is relatively painless. You can do it with a friend or family member and have a chat. And that's a great starting point. And once that small walk feels like a habit, you just automatically do it without thinking, it's just part of your life, then you can add more. Maybe 3 days a week you go, or every day a week you go, because you're used to going a couple times. A couple more times isn't going to make a huge difference. And then eventually you can start maybe replacing some of those walks with a gym visit. So it's really, these small changes compound over time, and since they're small and easy to do, they're not going to feel burdensome, they're not going to feel difficult. They're just going to eventually become your habit, and you'll be able to compound from there. After a year of doing small changes like that, you can look back and go, wow, I've gone really far. So that is great. I did this with food. Food was my biggest issue. I exercised a lot, and that was always been a habit since I was a kid. But for food, I was just eating whatever, whenever. I was eating garbage, and my lunch and dinner were sandwiches, and they were so unsatisfying. For dinner, I'd eat 2 or 3, and for lunch, I'd be hungry by 2 p.m. and go to the cafeteria and get a snack. So, I was overeating simply because my food didn't feel satisfying enough. So I decided to make one small painless change. I was making a sandwich every day for lunch and dinner. So I decided I'm going to pre-slice a tomato and grab some lettuce, and I'm just going to add that to my sandwich when I make it. It was a painless change. Just a tomato, once it's sliced, it takes a minute to slice into slices, and then it takes maybe an extra 15 seconds to put that on your sandwich. It made the sandwiches more satisfying, more filling. I was getting more vegetables in my diet, and it felt painless, and the sandwich was more delicious. And I'm like, this is great, and I kept with it until I gave up on sandwiches, because eating cold cut sandwiches for every meal isn't healthy. There's just not enough nutrients and protein and fiber and whatnot in there. Another tangent aside, but that change was relatively painless. After a while, it just felt natural to grab the tomato and lettuce. I didn't even think about it. It was just automatic. Then I started snacks. I would eat candy as a snack, a mountain of candy as a snack, or a box of Cheez-Its. I would just want to snack on something crunchy and salty, and that is okay on the occasion, but the amount I was doing was way too much. And way too much processed salty food is bad for inflammation and makes you sluggish. It's just a whole thing. So I replaced that once a week. I would buy 2 cucumbers and some celery, cut those up because they were crunchy. It's crunchy vegetables. And then I'd dip it in balsamic vinaigrette, so there's the saltiness, and that snack just way healthier than the chips or cookies or whatever else I was buying. And it was delicious. I still do this. If I want a snack that's crunchy and salty, I will go pick up a cucumber and some celery. I might actually go do that after this video and just snack on that. It's wonderful. I highly recommend it. So that change didn't feel painless. It felt even better than painless. It felt great. I was amazed. It was amazing. So I kept doing that. And before you know it, I gave up on the sandwiches and started meal prepping, and it just felt automatic. And it still feels automatic. It feels painless. I do not struggle with these things because it just isn't natural changes. So making small changes may seem pointless and insignificant, but if you make one small change and then later make another small change, it compounds, it grows. You create that upward spiral. It is, and this can be applied to physical health, weight loss, weight gain if you're in that boat. I know people are. Or you're just down in the dumps and your life doesn't feel right. Overall health. You can apply this to anything. It doesn't have to just be physical health and wellness. It can be mental health and wellness. It can be, just healthy, better habits, like cleaning your house more often. I know I could use that. So, just go for those small wins and go for those small habit adjustments. And eventually, you'll get to the point where your whole life has changed. And it feels like you just didn't, it feels natural. It felt effortless. And you never know until you try it. So, when creating that positive feedback back loop, there's a couple things I'd like you to remember. 1, always prioritize progress over perfection. I guess that's the biggest thing. Even if you aren't, say the walking thing I mentioned earlier, you don't have time to go for the 30-minute walk you have scheduled that week. A 5-minute walk is better than nothing. And you know what? You're still making progress. You still made the effort. Or you don't have the energy to cook dinner. Okay. You can, you can still try to find something healthy, but without cooking a full-on meal. There are options. You can just try to make progress as much as you can, and don't sweat it if you're not perfect, because if you always go for perfection, you're never going to make progress. You're always going to be stumbling. You're always going to be waiting for that perfect time. It's just not going to work. So always go for progress. Don't focus on perfection. We're humans. We're not perfect. We're illogical sacks of meat. So, go for progress. And number 2, another big thing is, if you mess up or you miss a day or a week of your habits for whatever reason, maybe you went on a trip and you didn't have time to go for a walk, or maybe you were just really sick, or there's a million different reasons that could get in the way from you keeping up with these positive little habits. Don't take a week or 2 of not being on top of things as an excuse to quit. Just go, okay, last week was a wash. Let's continue this week and continue making progress. It's okay to take a week off of being of self-improvement. You can take a week off. It's not gonna kill you. It's completely natural to want to take a break. I do it. This week was kind of a break for me, and it's natural. Sometimes work beats us down, or it's too hot to go for a walk. There's a million reasons that, you might not do something, and it's okay to take a break as long as you don't use that break as an excuse to go backwards. As long as you just maintain where you're at during your break and then continue again and progress, that is completely fine. It is all about small baby steps that we can manage and improve. And the final thing is, the only way to truly fail in this whole self-improvement, mindset growth, the upward spiral, taking baby steps, or overhaul, or whatever you want to call it. The only way you can truly fail at this is giving up entirely and going back to your old ways. If you give up entirely and just never try again, you failed. But if you go back to your old ways and then try again, you didn't fail. You found something that doesn't work, and you can try again, try something different. As long as you don't fully give up, you're fine. You just need to keep trying. Eventually, you'll find something that works. Trust me, I've tried losing weight and getting healthy for 3 years before actually being able to, it was like 2 or 3 years before actually being able to be successful. And it took several tries of me figuring out what works and what doesn't work, because, sometimes what works for one person doesn't work for another. And what matters is you don't give up, because you never know if the next time you try something new, that might be the recipe for success for you. So always keep trying, never give up, and eventually you will get to where you want to go. But if you give up, you'll never get there. So that is the final piece of advice. All right, so I think that's all I have for this topic for now. As I continue to learn and grow about health and wellness, I'm sure I'll have a lot more to speak about this topic. So stay tuned for that. I'm certain I will revisit this once I am more knowledgeable. But if you like this video, be sure to comment. What have you tried? What success stories you have? I love hearing success stories. Or consider subscribing to the channel. I will be making a lot more fitness, health, food, and wellness content, and running stuff, because, I'm a runner. And just stay tuned, and I will be making a lot of health and wellness content in the future. So if you're interested in that, consider sticking around. I'd love to have your company, and thanks again for watching, and keep making progress. Even when it seems impossible, just keep trying, and eventually you'll get to where you need to go. Have a good one.